Hello everyone, it's Mrs Edwards here. It's Monday the 1st of March 2021 and it is time for Encompass. So, to begin our Encompass lesson today, we are going to be talking about our anchor skill. And our anchor skill is something that we learnt about last week. And our anchor skill today is, how did Howard Carter help to make Egypt famous? So think back to our Encompass lesson last week. What did Howard Carter do in Egypt that helped make it famous? So that's your beginning anchor skill. So 2 or 3 sentences just explaining what Howard Carter did to make Egypt famous. So pause the video and you can then complete that. Okay everyone, welcome back. So today, now in our actual lesson, we are going to be discussing climate and why it makes Egypt a popular place to visit today. What do you think the word climate actually means? And you can see here we've got lots of lovely vocabulary words to help us with our lesson today. So there's our word climate, and that's our key word for today. So there is a difference between weather and climate. Weather is the day-to-day changes that we see happen. So it can be sunny one day, for example, and rainy the next. However, climate is the average weather usually taken over 30 years for a particular place. So think about the weather in our country. The weather in our country today, I am recording this obviously the day before you are accessing it, and it is Sunday and it is beautifully sunny where I live at the moment. So that is part of our weather. It is changeable because although it is sunny, it is actually quite chilly outside. So if you were now to get on a plane and go to Egypt, what do you think the weather would be like in Egypt if you landed there now? Countries have different types of climate around the world, and they can either be hot or they can be cold. So, the Earth is split in 2 halves with the northern and southern hemispheres. It's a little bit like slicing the world in half right around the middle. And the bottom half is called the southern hemisphere, and the top half is called the northern hemisphere. And you will see that I am now just correcting southern because that should have a proper noun capital letter. So let's just get that sorted. There we go. Okay, so the world's split in half, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. What splits the world in half? Well, it is the equator, and it's just on our way now. The slide is. The computer's just thinking about it. There it is. The hemispheres are split in half by an invisible line around the Earth called the equator. And it's literally like, if you imagine you're holding an apple or an orange, it's literally like slicing in half your apple or orange. The equator divides the world in half. The equator is equal distances between the north and south poles, and the north pole is the furthest northernmost point up there, and the south pole is the southernmost point down there. The weather on the equator is hot all year round. At the equator, day and night are both 12 hours long. So day and night are exactly the same amount of time long. And it is hottest there because of the closeness to the sun as we travel around it. So you have to think about, we have already learned about the fact that the Earth travels around the sun, and that's what makes our year. The equator is the point on Earth that is closest to the sun as we travel around it, and that is why it's hottest. So, have a look at these. Here is our equator line there. What do you think the climate of these countries here will be? Well, Brazil is bang on the equator line, as you can see there. So Brazil is hot all day long, all year round, because it is on the equator. But if you look here, here is Greenland. Greenland is towards the top, towards the North Pole, and it is further away from the equator. So the weather in Greenland will obviously be cooler because we are further away from the sun there. Here is an arrow pointing to us in the United Kingdom. We are not as cold as Greenland, but we are still cold nevertheless. We are nowhere near as warm as Brazil, although we do get some warmth in summer. But as you can appreciate, we are further away from the equator line than Brazil, but not as far away as Greenland. So we get cool temperature, but nowhere near as cold as Greenland. And this is the country we are interested in today. This is Egypt. Egypt is quite close to the equator, therefore the weather in Egypt will be quite warm. As we are close to the equator and therefore closer to the sun as the Earth travels around the moon. Travels around the sun, sorry, not the moon. So, a little bit of a thinking point here for you. Why might people choose to visit Egypt on holiday, and how has the climate influenced this? So, why do people choose to go on holiday to Egypt now, and why has the climate influenced this? So, as you can see here with my points, it lies within the Sahara Desert. So the Sahara Desert is a big piece of empty, sandy land here at the top of Egypt, and there is very little rain. However, there is strong winds that can cause sandstorms, but the sun is extremely strong, and hot or warm is always there in the day, but it can be slightly cool at night. So why do you think people would choose to visit Egypt based on that information? Have a little minute, have a little think about that. Okay, so these are your challenge questions today. I'd like you to tell me what climate actually is, and if you flick through the video back to the beginning of the video, I give you a definition of what climate actually is. And then question 2 says, what affects and creates a country's climate? So think about the position of the country on the globe, on the world, and why does that affect and create a country's climate? Think about Egypt, because that's the country we're studying, and what is the climate in Egypt like? If you refer back, the information is all there. And then question 4 says, why does the climate make people want to visit Egypt? So why do people choose to visit Egypt as a holiday destination? And it is all linked to the climate, so if you flip back through the slides, your answer is there. Please remember to answer in full sentences so that we know what you are actually answering, and please remember to upload your work when you are done. And then, should you finish in time, here is your Going Deeper question. What could be the possible disadvantages of having a very warm climate such as that in Egypt? So we've talked very much about why people want to visit Egypt because of its climate, but why would people not want to visit Egypt because of its climate? So have a little think about that, and then 2 or 3 sentences explaining your Going Deeper answer. Okay, lovelies, so that is your Encompass lesson for today. Please remember to upload your work straight away. I hope you get on okay with it. I will speak to you later. Bye bye.